Hello. Hi, I'm Jomike Tejido. I'm here because I'll be telling you about my adventures as a painter and how I did my journey through visual art because I'm a self-taught artist. So here goes, the art of Jomike Tejido. So before we start, I'd just like to tell you about a little bit of background about myself. I was, I'm an only child, and both my parents are architects. And since their office is home-based, I get to dabble around with different types of media, since all the art materials are there. And I also happen to live near an art gallery. So it was walking distance from our home, and that made me realize that there was an existent art scene here in the Philippines at a very young age. Next, at a very young age also, I knew I was inclined with drawing, and I was happy when I made other people's happy with my art. So that sort of honed me to what I am. And another thing about me, a little weirdness, is that I like to dress up and make people, to elicit different reactions from different people. So that was a fake cigarette, and I used to dress up like a bad guy in usual 90s films. So aside from that, my first language was Spanish. So this is one of my favorite books. Let's just go back. There. Un Día en la Playa was a day at the beach. And the art seemed to entice me to get out and observe nature as it was. And my father also played an important role because he enticed me to read more science books than literature books. So I got to learn about insects and different habitats. So in a nutshell, this was me back then. There. I had a family. I was into sports. I played soccer. I had a lot of hobbies. I collected robots. I made robots out of cardboard as a kid. And there was a thing about art contests that really excited me. So I kept on joining them. But apart from these things, they have their corresponding fears. As an only child, I felt I was alone. Sports gave a lot of pressure with skill. And the hobbies and art contest took a toll on my priorities as a student, as a son, and the fear of failing the art contests, which usually happened when I was in grade school. And all these things, we share these little things for each person, and that gives us a certain kind of weirdness. But the thing is, we just have to use these little details about us to consider them things that make us unique. And once you consider this as a potential, you get to focus on other things. There. Upon graduating in grade school, one of the local newspapers opened up a kiddie section called Junior Inquirer, and I happened to be interested to contribute to that. So in first year high school, I sent this. It was a drawing from grade 3, and it depicted a messy desk, which was my desk. And then this is one of the projects that was assigned to me. It was painted with a traditional airbrush back in 1997. So after that, I dabbled into publications, and what I did is that I used my childhood interest of clay to create three-dimensional illustrations. This is one of my first books, and they were simple crayon drawings topped with clay art. So after that, there was a thing about books that interested me. So I said, what if I wrote something that was entirely my interest? So of course, I did insects. Si Dindo Pundido, or Dindo Who Didn't Glow, was about a lightless firefly. So it was basically firefly models made out of clay with light bulbs on their tails. And the idea was to create an entire garden made out of dioramas of these little insects. So after that, I was inspired by the typical neighborhood scene because I saw the power of having a children's book and telling your story to millions of kids wherever around the globe. So I chose to do ang pambihirang sombrero, or the amazing hat, and it depicted a very Filipino city scene wherein a kid would go around the neighborhood, like a sari-sari store or a bakery, and do a lot of silly stuff. There. And in 2002, I was already in second year college when I got a chance to submit an idea for a comic strip for the Philippine Daily Inquirer. And after a few weeks, it got in. The title was Microcosmos, or Microcosms, and of course it featured insects again. And the thing about it is that I got to do my little jokes, little ideas into comic strips. But the nice thing about it was that the editor suggested that your art has a good potential to communicate to young readers or the youth. So why not do something that would be of good influence to them? So I thought of doing something that would also interest me. So I did environmental issues personified by these insects. So there would be an insect family of ladybugs, of higad, and a mosquito. You know, the common things that you see in Filipino backyards. So after that, another opportunity came wherein there was this competition called Noma Concours for picture books. And using the things that I learned from the comics, I said, what if, since this was a competition that involved a lot of countries from the Asia and the Pacific, the Arab states, and Latin America and the Caribbean, why not showcase something that is very Filipino and create Filipino artwork? So I thought of certain media that wasn't used before, and I developed banig painting. So when I first entered the banig painting back in year 2000, it didn't win anything. But when I entered again in the same competition, using the same style in 2006, it won an award, and I was lucky enough to get a travel grant to go to Tokyo and receive the award. So it was really fun. I chose a Muslim theme for it because the Muslim culture has a lot of lavish decorations, especially in the Maranao houses called the Torogan. So the title of this book is My Home is My Pet. So it features like the imagination of this child who rides and plays with different creatures in the house. So there. Let's just move forward. Okay, so after that, when I got back, I said it was a great experience showcasing my banig art to different nationalities in Japan when I went there. So why not create this as my signature medium? So when I got here, I dabbled into more of the fine art side, aside from the illustration side, and created a lot of non-representational abstracts. So simply put, those are these types of abstracts that don't really draw or illustrate anything. So this is bliss, this is desire, this is Adam, growth, and these little things were showcased in an interior design store in Greenbelt at that time. And the great thing about it is that there was a good reception, and I thought that it was time for me to create my first show. So to do that, I had to make a lot of gallery proposals, and I mean a lot. It wasn't really easy for somebody who's self-taught and not connected with anyone, but it just took one person to believe in it, and I got my first show in one-off gallery in Serendra. So the tree that captured the stars was the title of that show, and it showed different trees and animals, and was a symbolic exhibit for my journey through the whole thing. It featured growth, and I had an inclination to these squares and how they could create forms if you look at them for a long time. So growth of trees, some birds that were around the trees. Let's go back. Sorry. There. So canopy gliders, which are geometric versions of birds, and forests, and the tree that captured the stars. So the lesson that I learned from comics was also applied here. So I said, if I do things that are related to nature because I like it, why not partner with a certain NGO? So I went to Haribon Foundation and proposed a joint exhibit wherein the proceeds, a percent of the proceeds would be donated to their cause. So Under a Woven Canopy was set in CCP back in 2008, and it featured animals hiding in the square. So this happens to be a dugong. This is a bit more obvious. It's a whale shark. This happens to be a baboy ramo, or wild boar. So they're mostly like picture puzzles, and this one happens to be a tamarao, or water buffalo. And this is a Philippine eagle. So I did a lot of these things that would become like visual puzzles for me. And it was very rewarding for people to actually appreciate them as they were. And another great thing about painting is that I get to mesh my two worlds as a book illustrator and as a fine artist. And examples of that would be for the book of Sa Tapat ng Tindahan ni Mang Teban, which features playful banter of these two people. And I was able to add some abstract elements, despite it being a children's book, by symbolizing fire and rain with the two people who are opposites. I do my painting style for these books that showcase a lot of Philippine culture, like the labanderas, or the people who wash clothes, are a very common thing for Filipino rural areas. And this is another example. Ako'y isang mabuting Pilipino, written by Noel Cabangon. It was one of my latest exhibits last year. And it shows a lot of different examples on how to be a good Filipino, especially directed to children, like cleaning up, mano, or respect, and cleaning up the backyard with an adult. So, in a nutshell, my creative direction would be composed of my love for creation as a child, and environmental awareness, because it was my interest through my readings as a kid, and nationalism, because I feel that if the country has honed you to be something, it's a nice way to give back to it by using your talents for the benefit of the country. So it is generally art that empowers the Filipino. Whether you're a child and then you read the works that are directed for children, you get a sense that the Philippines is on the map. There's fine art, there's illustration, and there's innovation, and that's what makes it empowering. There. So with this as a driving force, art that empowers the Filipino, I get to do a lot of other things. So these are just the other things that I do for fun. Some of you might have heard of foldabots. They are cardboard robots in a magazine called K-Zone, and you get to build robots out of cardboard, and they have Filipino names like Tutubi for the helicopter, Liab for the fire truck, and Astig for the skateboard. And it doesn't mean that when you happen to find the certain credo for your work, that everything will go on smoothly. Remember this one? It was a comic strip I did in 2002, and suddenly when I opened the newspaper, it wasn't there anymore. So we're done with that. So I reincarnated Microcosmos and turned him into a robot in the Foldabot series. So Microcosmos became a robot guardian, and his arch nemesis was Pestetron, a set of evil insects. And I happened to host an art contest online, and an 8-year-old kid was able to design the robot's head. Back, please. There. So another thing I do for fun is robotars or robot tarsiers. This is mostly my venture in designer toys. And I developed a little, I designed a little online game wherein the tarsier eats Filipino food along the way as he bashes and destroys these creatures. So he eats these Filipino food that happen to grow on trees. And the reason why there are Japanese translations is because it was inspired by my trip to Tokyo. So everything I do is kind of linked into each other. So there. I happened also to mold the tarsier into a certain designer toy and create a small kids magazine that's distributed to all Don Bosco schools. So there, the magazine also features other stuff that I'm interested in from when I was a child, like the animal facts and some activities. So there, that's my art. Thank you.